Here's something you should seriously think about when you actually own property with wood, fascia board, wood patio covers, anything with wood on the outside of the house. And that is any cracks in the wood. Remember, cracks will absorb moisture. If you could just imagine it raining for a considerable time, any water that is going to be dripping onto the wood that is cracked, then the cracks will actually allow the water to enter into the wood. So that is a priority. And now you're probably thinking, well, if I have cracks, they're just going to continue to get larger. Well, that is a possibility, but if you leave them alone and you don't do anything, there's a pretty good guarantee they are going to get larger. Your objective is to make sure that you get as much value out of your wood, make it last as long as you possibly can. And to do this, believe it or not, you're actually going to need to take care of it. Larger cracks will need to be filled with caulking. And of course, smaller cracks, you can probably just paint over them. But you know, when you paint any wood, don't just paint it with a roller and you're done. Actually go back and look and make sure that the cracks have been filled in. You paint something and you still have a crack, and then that probably tells you you're going to need to fill it with some type of a filler, caulking, a wood filler, something like that. And the main reason for this is to protect the wood. Paint will protect the wood. Usually stain doesn't. If you have something that's stained, that's a totally different thing. You might need to keep staining it. And again, you might really need to have the stain soak into these cracks. Otherwise, you're going to have moisture seep into these cracks. And again, I'm not a big fan of stain. A lot of people end up staining something and then after a while they paint it. So that might be something to consider if your cracks are getting a little out of hand. And make sure that you nail or screw all corners, gaps like these together if you possibly can. You are going to find some every once in a while that, hello, you're not going to be able to do anything about. And who knows, you might be able to fix something like this, but it's looks like this one here is a goner. Something like this probably going to need to be replaced. And I would imagine both boards are going to need to be replaced, or at least sections of them, to make something like this work out. Last picture I have is me sticking my fingers into the end of a rotted beam. Hard to imagine? Well, believe it or not, this beam has been painted and painted again, but the top of the beam was exposed to the sunlight and, sad to say, rarely painted. Why? Because no one could see the top of the beam. So this is actually what you're going to end up with if you don't take my advice and keep your wood painted, keep all the cracks filled, protect that wood, and it will last a little bit longer than if you don't. And again, in some cases, you can paint wood, you can maintain it, and it's not going to last long depending upon the environment you live in, the weather conditions. In other parts of the world, parts of our country, we can paint it and it'll last for decades. So main objective, like I said, I'm going to say it for the last time before I end the video, is to protect your investment. And believe it or not, that requires maintenance. And some of that maintenance is actually going to be gathering information from videos like these.